Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Thursday, the 8th of August, comes to you from London. Dollar still flatlining, bearish below the cloud against its basket of currencies, but so pulling back quite a lot over this week, but still looking bullish on those medium and long-term charts. So the picture's little changed over the last 24 hours. Looking at the euro, we see that Eurodollar is actually holding its gains, so not much change there either. And against the Japanese yen, we're seeing the dollar still bearish on all three time frames. Sterling just holding this 121 area against the dollar. Again, not much action there. And against the euro, sitting at 108.47. Again, just teetering along. So in the last 24 hours, little action really on the currencies. And we see that again with the sterling and the Swiss franc. Looking at Bitcoin, we're just nudging this $12,000 mark, holding on to bullish timeframes on all three charts, and we do have the longer term upside targets of 13 and 16% higher. The S&P 500 index climbed a little bit last night, but little changed overall, and the Nasdaq also little changed, as you might expect. The Dow was actually stronger with a smaller number of constituents, but generally speaking, this bounce has been relatively unimpressive. We're just sitting on support. It'll be interesting to see how we end the week. The Russell 2000 also just struggling to recover really. The futures this morning, we're seeing the S&P future up 0.3% and the Nasdaq E-mini up 0.4%. Does seem that we are wandering back into bullish territory on that chart. It does suggest that the UK market, the US market, will open higher today. In the UK, we're up 0.25% on the top 100 index, but still bearish below the cloud on all three time frames, and the same with the 250, a little up 0.5%, but still bearish. The DAX is up 0.8%, but again, not enough to change the picture, and the same with the CAC 40. We are actually up over 1% this morning, but not enough to change the bearish nature of the chart. Japan was down slightly, still looking bearish on all three time frames. Hang Seng was up 0.5%, and the Chinese market was up nearly 1%, but again, these charts all looking pretty bearish. The Sensex actually was up 1/3%. Again, the medium chart is a little bit of worry there, and the Australian market actually recovering a little bit, and it has found support on a much clearer trend than most other markets. Brent crude is sitting at $57 this morning, nearly was nudging the 55 area yesterday, so looking pretty bearish still on all three time frames, and WTI much the same picture, even though we're up quite sharply this morning, not enough to change the bearish nature of the chart. US nat gas sitting at $2.12, no change there really, and if we look at gold, this has been the one chart that's looked amazing, and we're sitting up at nearly $1,500 this morning. Silver is also looking bullish as well, and US 10-year yields we've seen here back into the 170s area. So we have bounced off the lows that we've seen, but we are still very bearish on the trend there, and the Bund in Germany retracing some of that the gains we've seen recently, but still looking bullish on all the charts. Just looking at the individual stocks, this data coming to you from Yahoo Finance. We look first of all at the Dow 30. The best performer in the Dow was Walgreens. They were up 2%. Not enough to change the picture here, though. Pretty bearish looking chart. And the worst performer was Walt Disney. They were down nearly 5%. And again, the chart here is actually looking pretty bullish. So we've seen a situation where the worst looking charts are performing best, and the best looking charts have performed worse. So we're just seeing counter trend moves yesterday. Looking at the Nasdaq, we had again quite a lot of rises there. So it's quite key there. And if we look at on the downside, we had again some quite big fallers there in sight, a line down 2.6%. In the Aussie market, the best performer was Galaxy Resources, up a massive 11%. Not enough to change the picture though. Pilbara Minerals, they were up 8%. Some pretty big rises here, but they're all counter trend moves. We're seeing again the trends are down. So not great in terms of the overall picture. Insurance Australia, on the other hand, has been looking pretty good, but that 5% fall yesterday just put them into bearish territory. Looking at the Indian market, we see here this morning we've got HCL Technologies, they're up 5%, and that chart looking still pretty good. On the downside, we have Tata Steel down 5%, down 18 rupees, so they're 5% lower, and that chart looking pretty grim. Taking a quick look at the UK market, Hargreaves Lansdown, the best performer this morning, up 5%. Again, they've had quite a lot of negativity in the chart in the last few months, not enough to really change the picture there. Rolls-Royce up another 3%. They've had a better week, but overall the chart's not looking great. So we are seeing a lot of these charts breaking down, which is obviously quite a concern. Standard Life Aberdeen this morning down 1.2%. Again, this chart bearish long term, moving into medium term bearish. In the mid caps this morning, we've got Aston Martin actually on the top of the leaderboard, but again this chart looking pretty terrible. And on the downside, we've got TI Fluid Systems down nearly 10%. Again, that chart not looking great as well. Really quite hard to find good looking charts at the moment. And if we look at the Euro stocks, we've got Amadeus IT, they're up 2% in Holland. That chart finding support there. A hold group also in Amsterdam up 2% this morning, but again the chart not looking that great. If we look at the down stocks, we've only got two. Adidas down 1.3%, but the chart looking good, and Deutsche Telekom, sorry, looking less good. So interestingly, we're seeing a picture of the worst performances tend to be today on the best looking charts. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.